Welcome to the podcast, The Pilgrim and the Monk. A developing story of a pilgrim who is seeking the truth, and a monk who helps him find the way. Written by Timothy G. A. Cooper. Narrated and produced by Greg Cooper. Chapter 100. Overwhelming and Wonderful.
Monk, what has our Lord been teaching you this past while?
Thank you for asking, Pilgrim. Our Lord has been impressing two truths simultaneously. It is rather overwhelming and wonderful.
How so?
When our Lord leads us deeper into all truth, we are changed. It is a wonderful time in our lives. When He impresses two truths at once, it creates changes within us that bring radical transformation. That becomes overwhelming.
That's not something I ever considered.
Our Lord is not interested in teaching us facts. He desires to transform us into a new creation, building us up little by little.
How has He worked to transform you?
He wants me to abandon my ego. He exhorts me through the Apostle Paul in Romans. We must not just please ourselves.
That seems extraordinarily difficult. Everything around us pushes us to fulfill our own selfish pleasures.
A couple of verses later, the Apostle also reminds me, for even Christ did not live to please Himself. Our Lord lived for the glory of the Father. His purpose was to fulfill His will.
Do you believe our Lord is asking you to live with the same focus?
Demanding, Pilgrim, not asking. He is my Lord. I must always follow His command.
That seems so authoritarian. He loves us, so why would He demand our obedience?
That is what a Lord does. But He is not an earthly Lord that despises us. He loves us, but we are not equal.
That is a sobering truth.
It leads to the second lesson. I was recently reminded of the witness of Joseph, son of Israel. His testimony shows how quickly life can change. One day he was a robed prince. The very next day he was a naked slave.
What a terrible thing to endure.
Pilgrim, we live according to God's grace.
It would be hard to view that as grace.
Spiritual maturity is not possible until we understand that all of our life exists by God's grace. Both joy and suffering are meaningful when we serve our Lord.
Then I am a long way from spiritual maturity. I often get frustrated with God when I suffer. I want Him to take it away.
Think about this, Pilgrim. If the Lord removed Joseph from his suffering, how would the nation of Israel exist?
There must be a spiritual discipline to finding grace in suffering. I know I lack that ability.
It begins in recognizing the lordship of Christ. It is a privilege to participate in His will, even in suffering.
I would hope to see the day when His plans come to fruition.
That is the hope of all who serve our Lord. Until that day, we are thankful for His grace.
Well, Monk, you certainly were right.
About what, Pilgrim?
Everything you just said is both overwhelming and wonderful.
You've been listening to The Pilgrim and the Monk, written by Timothy G. A. Cooper, narrated and produced by Greg Cooper. We hope you enjoyed this production. Please join us again for the next episode.